1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused by their 18th birthday. Pledge to break the silence of child sexual abuse. Go to voicetoday.org and join the Voice movement today.
All right, that Angela, is one of the first things that I ever saw that you did, that bandage, putting a bandage over a child's mouth, you know. That was very powerful. But let me tell you folks who do not know Angela Williams, what she is involved in. She can captivate an audience with a powerful message about the tragedy and a passionate crusader for the cause of child sexual abuse prevention. She founded Voice Today in 2008, which is a nonprofit organization providing awareness, prevention, and healing programs and resources, many of those. And she's launched the Voice movement to promote social change to protect the innocence of the next generation of children. And she holds a journalism degree and is actively engaging the media to expose the issue of child sexual abuse and educate on prevention strategies. Let's welcome back Angela Williams. So glad to have you, girl. You're just a precious friend of mine, and you've been to Bulgaria with your story and with your book, and the book's been translated in Bulgarian. You got to come back over there and continue the fight that we're all fighting. When I heard you the first time, Angela, you put a spark in me about helping the children. And I knew in Bulgaria we had that problem, a huge problem. And it was so big that I didn't even have any idea of how to approach and what we could do. And when I met you and you told me all about the programs and everything, then you so graciously began to give me all the resources that you had. And I took them and had them translated. And then you came over there, like I said, and shared your book and shared your testimony. We traveled around there for several weeks, and it just opened up a problem that nobody wants to talk about. And you told me, you said, it's happening here and you'll see. And as we traveled, there were people that came up to you afterwards, and the pastors didn't even know. Some of their family didn't even know what these people had gone through. So I just have to say I salute you for sparking a fire in a lot of places now. So just begin by telling us who else will be on the program. Let's talk about the rest of this program, and then you tell me what's happening in Voice Today.
Well, I'm so excited this evening. Our viewers are in just such a treat. Breanne Hill is a 12-year-old young woman who is very passionate about sharing her story in an effort to give other children a voice, to help them understand they don't have to stay silent. So as we say, from the mouth of babes, we really pay attention and we listen. So we're going to be blessed to hear her testimony, a very tragic testimony that she has turned into a very victorious opportunity to be an advocate. And then Representative Jason Spencer, I know of no greater elected politician in the state of Georgia that is standing up for the rights of victims of child sexual abuse. So as an elected official, he's going to be here and share some of the legislation that we're working on that really could be a game changer. It really could. It's groundbreaking, and it will extend the statute of limitations on civil child sexual abuse cases so that currently survivors are locked out of the court system. It will open the doors to allow them to pursue their perpetrators. So it's going to be an exciting evening. I'm so excited to be here with you today. It is going to be very, very interesting and informative, and that's what the program is all about. Tina, my daughter, is the one that wanted to get, she's real passionate about anything that's going on in children's lives and the issues of the world today, you know, and so she knew that you were the very one that has really blazed the trail, you know. Betty, what we've done is we started a dialogue in Bulgaria, and we're starting that dialogue in this country and around the world. And there's such sickness in secrecy. And there's such secrecy around the issue of child sexual abuse. Unfortunately, victims have been placed in such a place of shame where they feel like it's their fault, and they're so wounded they don't have the power to speak up and speak out. So I hope in my lifetime that I can be a voice for the voiceless. I hope in my lifetime that I can help break down that stigma and that discomfort with talking about this. We can't solve this issue in silence. We have to talk about it, and we have to have a dialogue that's productive. And we have to build courage. And I think one voice gives another voice, gives permission for another voice. I was sexually abused for 14 years, and I could be in a corner in a padded cell. Literally, that's how desperate and how much pain I was in. And it's only by the grace of God that I was able to heal. And I just want to be an encouragement for other survivors to say, you don't have to stay in that place of shame. You don't have to wear that coat of shame. This is not your fault. You had no power. You were a powerless child. So I'm so blessed at what God is doing in Voice Today and what He's doing in the Voice movement. We have really are plowing some tough ground and have been so blessed to have people come alongside us. I have no greater people working in Voice Today on this earth. They are passionate, they are powerful, they're committed, they're dedicated. So I don't sit here alone. I sit here with really the Voice movement being a grassroots movement that's growing by leaps and bounds every day. Just to let you know, since I was with you last, how we are expanding nationally. This is 2015. We started in 2008. So we have now grown from 2 retreats, healing retreats, to this coming year. We hope to pull off 7 healing retreats.
Oh, goodness.
We added last year a youth retreat for 13 to 17-year-olds. So we will have 4 youth retreats, and ladies retreats, and then we're going to do 2 out of state, and then we're going to add a couples retreat, because couples suffer when either the husband or the wife have been sexually abused, or sometimes it's both have been sexually abused, and they've had no opportunity to heal. It's such a traumatic trauma for someone to be able to process, and there's no real safe place to process that pain. On the prevention side, as you can see, I have loaded you up with tons of books, our new programs.
Yes.
We've added programs both in prevention and healing. I'm excited to say that we are working on something that could truly be a game changer, and that's our Physician's Power to Protect. And what we are promoting and trying to help initiate is prevention on the front lines within a pediatrician's or a physician's office during a child's well check. What better opportunity for a doctor to look at the caregiver and say, do you realize your child has a 1 in 4 chance, or a 1 in 6 chance, 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys, of being sexually abused? Educate them on some of the signs and symptoms, help the child understand that they have a right to their private space, and even ask the child, is there anyone in your life that makes you feel uncomfortable? And give that child an opportunity for disclosure. So we are really advocating and hoping that this program could go national, and that for doctors' visits in the future, that would be a platform for prevention distribution.
Right. I'm very impressed with these brochures, because they are so well done, and got step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 of exactly how to approach all of it. And like you said, it's very helpful to caregivers and to parents, and to, I wish that we could say that the teachers have access to this, or in the schools, but it's just not happened yet. And we know that there's a lot of things that can prevent all of that. But you have the resources right here, and people can get these from your website. And so the thing about it is that we're talking about it, and we're getting the word out there, and so they know that you have everything that can possibly be needed. And your sweet son Jacob, I wish he was here. My Lord, I love Jacob Williams.
Well, I hope his nose is in a book, because he's at UGA tonight. It's his 2nd day back at school, so he sends his regards and was so sorry he could not be with us tonight. But he is a remarkably talented young man.
He is.
And he's written 2 fabulous books. Gracie finds her voice, and Grant gets his shield. And I think that parents are so uncomfortable with the subject, and they really have these tools and these opportunities to talk about personal power with children, to talk about personal boundaries, and help educate them. And the stories are fun.
They are.
They're engaging. And at the end of the book,
The pictures are
they're even
so
asked,
vivid.
has anyone ever asked you to keep a secret? Has anyone ever made you feel uncomfortable? So these are just great, great programs and opportunities to open up that dialogue, that conversation.
And this is for like toddlers? What age?
Our
would you
targeted
say?
age group is 4 to 9.
Okay.
Certainly you could start younger, but we find that a child truly gets engaged in the books. They're written in rhyme. Just for your viewers, they do not discuss sexual abuse. They discuss the power of your voice, and they discuss your right to your personal space and your personal boundaries. But they are ideal for young children, and I think it's great to curl up in bed and read your child a bedtime story that has true value and true educational potential to help protect them from the risk, and they would know how to respond.
That's right. That's right. These are so great. I know I've read them to my great-grandson. He just loves to hear about them. So what else do we need to, well, you've talked about, well, let's get your book out here, because if we don't talk about it now, we may not have time later.
This is my book, From Sorrows to Sapphires, and it seems like a decade ago that I wrote it, but it was in 2007 that God laid on my heart to tell my story. And at that point, I thought I really was going to write about the little girl's journey of how she kept the secret and why she kept the secret, so people could understand why children are in such fear and are intimidated in such a way that they carry the shame and the guilt of the sexual abuse. And then, of course, I had so many challenges in my young adult life, challenges with drugs, alcohol, eating disorders, challenges in my marriage. So I wanted to try to share that to help people understand that they weren't alone. And I kind of pridefully gave it to God and thought, okay, I did the book, I'll go back to my real estate business. And God said, oh no, this is just the beginning. And that was really the beginning of the birth of Voice Today and on all the programs that you see. It's so sad to know that this is a pandemic and that there is not more being done to educate our communities on how to predict and prevent child sexual abuse. It's mind-boggling to me. I mean, I'm not the smartest person on earth, but you would think that the statistics of 1 in 4 and 1 in 6, there's no other accident, there's no other disease, there's nothing else that impacts children in such a traumatic way. And it certainly touched my own life. I lost my entire childhood to child sexual abuse, from age 3 when it started to age 17 when it ended with a suicide attempt, and it was only by the grace of God.
Yes.
Tonight I'm offering, if your viewers would just like to download my book free at AngelaKWilliams.com. So they could read it and understand, I think, the issue of child sexual abuse on a deeper level. And that's my hope and my prayer, that this too would be a tool to help educate, to bring awareness, to bring understanding, and to bring compassion. You know, there's really very little compassion, I believe, and I don't think it's intentional. I think it stems from that discomfort with the topic and the subject matter. But if you tell me, Betty, that you have cancer, I'm going to give you a casserole, I'm going to clean your house, I'm going to send you a card. But yet, if someone discloses that they were sexually abused as a child, people just don't know how to respond. They don't know what to say.
Exactly.
So hopefully through Voice Today, we can help people understand that we want to talk about it. We want to get our voice back. We want to get our power back. We want to be able to not feel the shame. And so that silence creates shame. So that's part of what hopefully From Sorrows to Sapphires will do. So if your viewers, if they're a survivor, it's a great book for them to read to realize they're not alone. If their wife is a survivor, their husband, perhaps a sister or a relative, it gives them greater understanding into the issue.
Right. You've done a fantastic job, and it's not over. You just continually, the Lord continues to give you more resources and more understanding about how to get the word out, and going all over America now, you know. That's what the Lord wants you to do, because you have got enough passion to take care of all America.
Well, I think together, I have the hope that together we can protect the next generation of children. I don't think that it's impossible, and I think that as a movement, we need a platform. So hopefully the Voice movement can be that spark, as you talked of earlier, can be the spark to say we don't have to be uncomfortable with this topic or this issue.
Right.
Let's talk about it. Let's find sound solutions.
That's
and there is solutions and creativity.
We've already been talking to Angela Williams, who is with Voice Today. You can go to her website, voicetoday.org. You want to go to her website. There is so much information there that will help you. And she's still here, and she has a special guest that is with us, and I want her to introduce Brianne for us, Angela.
Well, Brianne Hill is just a special young woman who, too, is a survivor like myself. But the story is different because Brianne got her voice very young, and Brianne had parents that were very courageous in protecting her and holding her perpetrator accountable. And that's not a story that we see very often. Generally what happens, as I said statistically, 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused. The median age is 9 years old, but only 1 in 10 ever tell. So that's where the rubber meets the road, is to be able to help these children disclose, to help these children find justice, and that's going to lead into our program later with Representative Spencer. And then to find healing, to get the kind of therapy, the kind of support, the kind of encouragement, to let them know that they've done nothing wrong and they don't have to wear any type of shame, and that they're very powerful and they can get their voice back, they can get their power back, they can be restored, and they can find healing. And I think that that's the precious part of this story. She has wonderful parents, Cindy and Russ Hill. They've been wonderful advocates with the Voice Today, and 2 are speaking out and helping Brianne and encouraging her to speak out, because it takes a lot of courage in a family and a lot of commitment.
Well, welcome, Brianne. And how would you like to just tell us your story, however that you want to share it, okay? You just feel comfortable. You're just here like we're at home and just talking to each other. So you just be relaxed and tell us what you want to say.
It happened almost 3 years ago. It was a spring break vacation. We'd been talking about going to Michigan to visit my grandparents, whom we don't see very often.
We being who now that was
My
going on
family.
vacation?
I have 4 sisters and my parents, and we were all planning on going to see our relatives up there. When we got to Michigan, we started to settle down. The first night there, I heard someone moving around, and somebody was touching me inappropriately. But I thought it was another one of those strange dreams that I have where they seem so realistic, but they don't actually happen. The next morning, we had gone to church where I was a little unsure of what had happened the night before. The Sunday night, nothing had happened, so I had assumed it was a dream. Until Monday night, I realized it was really what happened. I was abused again in a way that I shouldn't have been. The next morning, I went to my mother and I told her what had happened. I told her that I felt as though I thought that somebody had been touching me. And we went to go see my father, who was in the bedroom my parents were sharing at the moment. When I told him what had happened and what I thought had occurred during the night that we were there, he went to go find out who had done it, and it turned out to be my grandfather.
Hit your dad's dad.
And when I found out that my grandfather had done it, it shocked me because I had always trusted my grandfather, and he was one of the closest people I had up there that I enjoyed spending time with. So we left immediately. It still shocked me, even though I had to face the truth that my grandfather had done that. There were many times that I had wished that it was just one huge nightmare that I hoped I would awaken from, but it never happened the way I'd wanted it to. when we got back home, my parents immediately called a friend who's a lawyer who was going to our church, and she told us to make a decision whether to prosecute my grandfather or not. After talking, we finally did prosecute him. And
That was hard for your dad, I'm sure.
it was. It took a lot of decision and thinking, which I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to get justice for what had happened. But after we had returned, when spring break had ended, a contest had gone up at school where the students would write an essay to submit it. The essay was titled "My Greatest Fear," and I wanted to submit the essay to hopefully get out my story, which I was hoping would help me find freedom in a way.
So the teacher asked everybody to talk about the same thing, my greatest fear. Every child was supposed to write on my greatest fear.
Well, no, it was
Okay.
an entire school contest where only the students who wanted to
Okay.
would submit their essay.
And you could write on whatever you wanted to. And you chose my greatest fear for your essay.
What had happened over the spring break.
Right, okay.
Unfortunately, the school would not let me submit it, which I thought was basically a horror for me. I had told myself that I wouldn't speak out again until my mom had found out about Voice Today, and we got in touch with Miss Angela, which was one of the best things that's happened to me. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Voice Today, Miss Angela.
I think there are a couple of things here in Brianne's story. One, her grandfather confessed that he had molested her. He, I think, probably wanted it over, wanted to end. There was a history in the family of abuse, so I think he wanted it over. So he confessed. And two, I think Brianne got to a place where her family was supporting her. Her family was helping her speak out. But then the school tried to silence her. Instead of accepting that essay and allowing her to enter that contest and have her voice, that school took her voice away again. That school said, you can't submit this. This isn't worthy of being submitted. This
You
is
can't talk
shameful.
about this.
You can't talk about this. And these are some of the places, some of the dark places that Voice Today is going. And we took that essay, and that essay went viral. I think we had, what, 60-something thousand
I have no idea.
reads on it, on that essay, which was very powerful, extremely powerful. And you see, the enemy would have closed that door for Brianne. The enemy would at that moment silenced her had the door not been opened for Voice Today, had God not led her family to contact us. Because since then, she has been a very powerful advocate, has spoken out, and was just a great ministry partner, really, on our
Yes.
youth retreat. Do you want to talk a little bit about the youth retreat, the Voice Today? Voice of Power is what it's called. It's the Voice of Power Youth Retreat.
The youth retreat was one of the most amazing experiences that I had been engaged in. The girls there were able to share what had happened to them without being judged, which I thought was amazing, because so many people that others have tried to share their story with were told that it shouldn't have been shared. I found healing through that with sharing what had happened to me, even though I'd shared 100 times before, but it helped me to share with those who had also been hurt and understood what I was going through, and how someone so close that I had trusted had broken that trust with me. The youth retreat was incredible. The girls and the other girls there, I had so much fun with them. We were able to sing, dance, enjoy ourselves without having to be afraid that something wrong was going to happen.
Right.
In the time that we were having so much fun.
And remember I said that every child deserves a childhood?
Yes.
Child sexual abuse takes away that childhood.
Yes.
It makes children feel like they have to be an adult now, because something very adult has happened to them. So during our weekends, what we try to do is help them be a little girl again. Even on the ladies' retreat, we have 70-year-olds coming, and we help them find that little girl again, celebrate that little girl again, and help that little girl to heal. So we're so blessed to have been able to have that, and I want these programs expanded across this country.
Yes, amen. Because how many more Briannes are out there? How many more girls and boys are out there that no one has allowed them to speak? They have not been able to speak, like you so well have talked about, Angela. So, and I understand from Miss Angela that you've been on CNN and y'all have done a documentary about all this?
Yes. CNN was actually the first TV interview I had done after what had happened. I was 10, 11, somewhere between there. I was able to share my story, and my parents were able to share how they had felt about what had happened to me, which still amazes me about how they're still standing up for me.
Amen. Well, they are your parents, and they are being
Yes.
good parents too. They're standing up for you.
When I had first told my parents what had happened, I thought they were going to silence me, because I had heard about so many other people there, or so many people out there that had been silenced by their parents, their friends, people they trusted, because they don't want to have to deal with the problem. But my parents stood up for me, and so they're my heroes, which is what I call them.
And I remember in your book, Angela, where your mother didn't stand up for you, never did.
It's my hope and my prayer through Voice Today, through examples like Brianne's family, like Russ and Cindy, that we can make courage viral. There's not a
Yes.
choice. We don't hide this. We stand and protect our children. We hold those accountable. And those who are perpetrating these horrible, evil acts, they need help. They need to be stopped. They desperately need.
I started to say they probably are
programs.
almost glad when it's over and it's out in the open, and they can say, "Hey, I've done wrong. I need to get help."
Voice Today needs resources to be able to provide programs for them. You know, there's just, this problem is so big.
Yes.
So big. So we need every single viewer to go to voicetoday.org. Please pray for us. Please help. Please volunteer. There's so much work
So
to be done.
much that
So
can be
much
done.
ground to be plowed. And so many Briannes. Our phone rings off the hook, really off the hook. And it's tragic to me because the stories are younger and younger and
Oh, my
younger. I think I
God.
told you in the break that probably 90% of our calls this year, the children have been under the age of 5.
Oh my Lord.
Under the age of 5.
Oh, that just breaks your heart. Like I said, every child needs a childhood. They don't need to have it taken away. Brianne,
if
what
it-
would you tell we got just about 1 minute. How about looking in that camera right over there and talk to the girls and the young people there? What would you tell them?
Well, like I tell a lot of the people there, how I found power and healing was through my voice. And really, your voice is one of the most important weapons that you have, and so you should use it. Don't hide it away. That just keeps you imprisoned longer, and it doesn't work that way. So share and use your voice.
There's sickness in the secrets. So we have to speak about this, and we
Have
have
to
to
speak
encourage
out.
children to speak, and we have to encourage other survivors to speak. So I would say to your viewers, whether you are 6 or you're 60, and you have held this secret in, it's time to speak. If you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're a grandmother, if you're a young child, if you're a teen, please speak up, speak out, get some help, tell a safe person so they can step in and begin to protect you. No matter what age, you need to release that secret. Well, it gives me no greater joy or excitement than to be able to be a light in a dark place and to really help caregivers, whether it be grandparents, aunts, uncles, parents, daycare workers, whoever spends time with a child. You really need to know and understand that we are dealing with not even an epidemic, but a pandemic. So staying in that place of arrogance where it's not going to happen to my child, you can't stay there. You have to understand that this is a real risk. You have to understand that we have to have dialogue. So this evening I'm going to share with you some prevention tips, some things that would help you get the conversation started. Obviously there's a lot of angst, there's a lot of discomfort in talking to a child about sex or certainly sexual abuse, because it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing to think that a child would be violated, that such innocence would be taken advantage of. So I understand that, and hopefully by some of the things that I can share with you this evening, you can have some courage. Hopefully I can impart some wisdom and some courage about how to have these conversations. So I want to talk to you tonight about a really simple formula, and it's called SAFE. And if I use a formula because everybody can remember letters and kind of what they stand for. It was the way that I got through school. I would build acronyms. So looking at the word SAFE, we're going to take S. And S is an important component of keeping our children safe because we have got to speak to our children. We have got to begin to speak to each other as adults. I can't tell you how many situations where an entire karate school children have been sexually abused, or a school, or a daycare, or some type of community youth serving organization, where if the parents were just talking about maybe some signs and symptoms that they had seen or observed that were disturbing and kind of compared notes, perhaps there could have been intervention earlier. We also have got to be speaking to our children. We've got to not put fear in them, but certainly let them know that not everybody in their life may be safe. There's a way to really separate from they're not a bad person, but this person may make some bad decisions when they're with you. They may cross some boundaries. They may do something that's inappropriate, because certainly we do not want to scare children, but we want to equip them to be able to overcome the risk and be able to respond to child sexual abuse. So S is for speak. A is for ask. We don't ever ask those important questions. We don't ask a child how your visit was. What did you do at the visit? Did someone in that visit make you feel uncomfortable? Is there someone in your life that's made you feel uncomfortable? God forbid, is there someone that has ever touched your private parts? Because we're so afraid of the answer. And that is so sad, because children don't have an opportunity to disclose, and perhaps disclose earlier and intervene before the act of sexual abuse actually happens, because grooming is a very long process. Perpetrators are very cunning, they're very manipulative, they push a child's barriers, they see how far they can go with a child. Perhaps there's a child that's insecure, or they need more affirmation in their life, then that's an open door that perpetrator can continue to groom that child. S is for speak, A is for ask, and F is really difficult. F is follow up. If you suspect abuse, or if a child has told you something that's concerning, you have so many resources. You can talk to a counselor, you can talk to a school counselor, you can talk to your pediatrician, you can talk to other members of your family, but certainly do not ignore that child's disclosure, because that's their one opportunity for intervention and to get safety. So S is for speak, A is for ask, F is for follow up, and E is education. We have got to educate ourselves on how to predict and prevent child sexual abuse, and we've got to educate our children. So I've got some tools here for you that's going to help you just in very casual conversations to educate your child. Everybody, we celebrates holidays, we celebrate Christmas, birthdays, so perhaps when you're wrapping a gift, when you're putting a gift in the car, it's a great opportunity to explain to your child that this is a surprise that somebody's going to open, but that secrets are not tolerated in your home. You see, secrets conceal, surprises reveal. That is an awesome way to teach your child a valuable lesson, that they can't get secrets from you, and no one should ask them to keep a secret from you. This is a great tool. This is a hula hoop. It helps to explain children that anywhere inside of this hula hoop is their personal boundaries, their personal space, and they have the right to reject any type of uncomfortable talk or touch. An easy way to explain to your child what is appropriate and what is not appropriate is the bathing suit. Anywhere that a bathing suit touches is not appropriate for anyone else to touch except for health and hygiene. Explain to your child, we may be going to the doctor and your private parts may need to be examined, or in some type of hygiene they may need to be touched, but no other reason. And then probably the most powerful tool you can give your child is their no voice. Teach them, if someone is making them feel uncomfortable, to scream that guttural no. Not a piddly no, but a loud, guttural no. So that perpetrator will know that is not the child that I need to mess with. That child has some very strong personal boundaries and will probably disclose. If your child can't speak about what's happened, we have used in our Gracie and Grant books, they're interactive. The last page asks, has anyone ever asked you to keep a secret in Gracie Finds Your Voice? Or in the Grant book, has anyone ever made you feel uncomfortable? And if the child cannot talk about it, ask them to draw a picture, a simple picture that they can begin to process what has happened, and you can ask questions. This also becomes forensic evidence if there is a problem. So giving your child even a piece of paper or a crayon and say, you know, draw me a picture of where you were, what was happening, where was I, and help a child be able to process that pain. So these are some great tools. What we want to do at Voice Today is we want to put tools in your hands. We want to give you opportunities. We want to give you suggestions. These are simple. This is bought at the dollar store. These are simple opportunities, simple times in your day-to-day life that you can talk about child sexual abuse.